40 Days for Life started out of frustration. We were down on volunteers. We were a local organization in Bryan College Station, and it was just difficult to find people to go out and to pray in front of our local Planned Parenthood abortion facility. It was hot, our funds were low, and we were hitting rock bottom, much like many in America feel about our nation today. That morally there's very, very little hope, particularly with our government and the expansion of the abortion industry. So we were very frustrated, and we did what we were supposed to do when you get frustrated, and that's to pray. So we sat down around an old wooden table in College Station, Texas, and prayed about what we could do to end abortion locally in our community. And that's when the number 40 just came to us. 40 days, and how God uses 40 days throughout Scripture, not only to bring about change in the culture, but to bring about the conversion of his own people and his own leaders. And Christ himself uses 40 days in the desert. And so we thought, what if we dedicated everything for 40 days? And that was 40 Days for Life. 40 days of prayer, 40 days of fasting, 40 days of community outreach, where we went to 25,000 households asking people to pray for an end to abortion, and 40 days of a non-stop, peaceful, 24-hour vigil outside of our local abortion facility. We threw the campaign together in about 2.5 weeks. We launched it at midnight, the day before the first ever 40 Days for Life, and that campaign in 2004 really took off. We saw 1,000 new people get involved. We saw local secular media really become attractive to the pro-life movement, not knowing what to do with it almost, because there were so many people going out to the clinic, and obviously the draw was the 24 hours a day. That was unheard of. It was the longest consistent prayer vigil in history up to that point. And the results of that campaign were not only new pro-lifers getting involved, but a 28% drop in local abortion numbers at our specific Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. And so when it was over, we were just exhausted. There were 4 of us that sort of started this, and it spread to our local community, but everybody involved was extremely tired, and we never thought anything would ever come out of 40 Days for Life until a group in Dallas called us 3 weeks after ours was over, and they had heard about it on the internet, and then Green Bay, Wisconsin, and then Charlotte, North Carolina, and Seattle, Washington, and these local communities started coming to us and asking us how we did this. I remember sitting down, and my wife and I worked for the local organization that started 40 Days for Life, and we sat down and we actually typed out a packet of everything that would be required to put on a 40 Days for Life. How you would deal with the media, how you would talk to people about going out to the clinic, how you would train sidewalk counselors, what to expect as a community reaction. And this packet, looking back, was probably fairly pathetic with information, but we posted it on our website and just thought, if anybody wants to do a 40 Days for Life, they can go to our local website and go through it. And what happened was people were finding out about that 2004 campaign and conducting their own 40 Days for Lives in their communities, their own campaigns. And we were amazed to see that there were 1 and then 2 and then 3, and it ended up being 7 campaigns independent of us helping anybody or providing any resources. And so I remember talking to my good friend David Beeright, who hired me into the pro-life movement, and he had moved to Washington, D.C., and we were talking about what would happen if we did a 40 Days for Life nationally, simultaneously, using the internet, training local leaders in their local communities via webcast conference calls on how to do a 40 Days for Life. And we just launched a campaign, and everybody was out there for 40 days in these simultaneous cities. And the goal was to have 20 to 25 cities. That way it would at least, that we thought that was a large number. And so in the summer of 2007, we did a big promotional event via the internet, and we had 89 cities sign up for the first nationally coordinated 40 Days for Life, and that campaign was larger than we ever would have imagined. It happened in 43 states. And so much so that communities then found out about that first fall campaign in 2007, that they wanted to do another campaign the following spring in conjunction with Lent. So we launched a spring 40 Days for Life, and we had 59 cities sign up for that. In the following fall, last year, the fall of 2008, we had 177 cities. In the following Lent, we had 139 cities. So the campaigns doubled from one year to the next nationally. And that's when we knew this would require a lot more attention, a lot more work, and that God was using something that we didn't think was that spectacular. It's very simple. It's not fancy. It's prayer, it's fasting, it's awareness to the greatest injustice that goes on in any community in our nation. And it's the best kind of awareness, which is confronting the issue where it happens. Not talking about it in Washington, not blogging about it, but going to where it happens and giving it the attention it actually deserves. And so that's what got people's attention. That's why the national media has been very generous to us in coverage. We've had good coverage in the LA Times, the New York Times, the Fox News Channel. And it's amazing to see so many people, 215,000 as we sit here today, who have participated in this effort, which started on just, a few blocks of concrete, a few feet from where we are now. And so it shows that nobody wants to end abortion more than God.